Hi, I'm Jackie McLean and welcome to the first of this short set of videos on how to use Scrivener. Scrivener is a writing software that a lot of writers use, but it can be quite difficult to get into when you're first faced with it because it's jam-packed with features. It can be quite overwhelming. So these three short videos are just aimed to help you get a feel for what's there, how to quickly use it and make it look the way that you want it to. So the first video, I'm just going to show you the way that I set it up, the way that I like to use it, so that it can give you an idea, an example. The second video, I'll look at the main features of Scrivener so that you can quickly get into it and navigate your way around. Then in the third video, I'll show you how you can set up the screen to make it look the way that you want it to, because if you're anything like me, your screen has to look just right before the words will come. So before further ado, let's head over to the Scrivener screen. Previous draft of what I'm working on at the moment, just to give you an idea of the sorts of things you can do with Scrivener that might help you in your writing. When I'm working on a book, I like to have my Scrivener work screen set into 3 panels. So this first panel here is where the actual words get written, where I do the drafting. There's a panel here which is summaries of each of the chapters, just in little, like index cards, and a panel here which is basically like a table of contents, so just a list of the chapters in the book. And what I tend to do is I divide the book when I'm working on it into 3 or 4 parts. So each part, for instance, part 1 there has a series of chapters in it. Then I've got part 2, a series of chapters in it. And that's just the way that I like to work when I'm writing a book. I think in terms of a part of the book at a time. I also like to colour code the chapters as I'm writing them, especially during the early drafts of a piece of work. It just helps me to get a handle on how much work I've still got to do. So I use red, amber, green colour coding. Green for chapters that I'm quite happy with, to leave and move on for now. Amber if it's largely written up but I've got a bit of work to do and I want to come back to it fairly soon. And red if there's a big rewrite to come on to be done, or I haven't started writing it yet at all. These tend to be the ones that I leave to the end. So it gives me an idea if I look down the chapters, how much I'm happy with, how much is complete, and how much work, major works or tweaking that I've still got to do. In this example here, I've got 2 that are colour-coded blue, and that's just because I want to combine those 2 chapters. It's just a note to myself so that I remember to do that. Also, what's really handy with this sort of setup in Scrivener is that, for instance, if I'm in this first chapter here, which corresponds to this index card, and I decide that actually that needs to be the second chapter instead of the first one, all I have to do is click and drag the index cards and the text automatically moves. You'll see that more easily if I go to here, which shows all the text for that part of the book. So for instance, I'll move that back if I can, back to the start, and you'll see that the text moves itself. So you can do that anytime you think that chapter's not in the right place. I'll just move it. Instead of having to cut and paste the old way, you just click and drag and it's much easier. The other handy thing about having your workspace all together like this when you're writing a book is you can also have your research notes in one place. So instead of trying to find where you left things, if you're anything like me, I've got loads of notebooks and scrappy bits of paper all over the place and websites saved here, there and everywhere, you can bring it all together here. So you have a look at what's in your research notes. For instance, I've got, as you would have, facilities for mortuary and post-mortem room services. So if I ever want to look at that, I don't have to go around and try to remember where I saved it, or where I wrote a note of it. It's all here within Scrivener, and it's dead handy. So those are some of the features that just make it a bit easier when you're writing to keep yourself orientated where you are. These index cards help you just to understand if I'm writing in this chapter here, I can quickly just look and see this is what happens immediately before that chapter, this is what's going to happen next, and it keeps me orientated within the text, and that's really handy, especially when you get on in your word count and it starts to become quite unwieldy as a very large document to work with. So that's the main features of Scrivener as I tend to use them. The other thing that's quite a good feature I want to show you is you can look at your overall progress at any point as well. If you can set yourself word count targets, have a look, see how you're doing, get a list of all your word counts, it shows you a little visual of them as well, and all my colour coding is copied into that too. So I can easily look down and see how much work have I still got to do, what's the shape of this looking, are there some chapters too long, too short, is there not enough variation in the length of the chapters. It's just a quick and easy way to have a look at that, and I can make some decisions about the text. So hopefully that's given you an idea of some of the main things you can do with Scrivener, and if it looks like something that you'd find handy to use, then the next couple of videos will go in more depth about how you can actually set it up the way that you want it to.